everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kat. I'm very new to makeup, and so I'm just kind of sharing my makeup journey with everybody out there in the internet. And for today's video, I decided that I would do just a normal get ready with me, where I'm just going to be putting on my makeup, and along the way I'm going to be talking about how you can at home build up to being able to do a pull-up. In one of my last videos I had done a makeup challenge where I had also combined it with doing different exercises, and one of the exercises that I had done was pull-ups, and I had a couple people asking me afterward, how did I do pull-ups? How did I do that many of them? How can I build up to being able to do that? And so I thought that this would be a really great way for me to just kind of walk you through everything. There's not many tools that you'll need for a lot of the movements. It's just going to be simple dumbbell type movements. If you don't have dumbbells at home, you can use things like heavy boots or shoes, cans of soup, pretty much anything that you could think of that would be heavy, you can use those. Also, we're going to have different types of resistance bands that we're going to use for a couple of the different movements, and resistance bands are great because they come in lots of different weight resistances on there, and so as you get stronger and build up strength, you can swap out different color resistance bands because each color represents a different weight resistance that's on there. And so I will show in a couple of the videos what those different bands look like. The ones that I use are from Rogue, but there are a bunch of companies out there that sell them, and so I would just recommend grabbing some of those. And then finally, having a pull-up bar. I have a rig in my house that's attached to one of my doors. That seems to be one of the most common ways that people will, have a setup at home. I do know if you don't have a pull-up bar at your house, a lot of parks these days have like some kind of gymnastics setup on there where there will be a bar. Kids' playgrounds have monkey bars and things like that where you could potentially use those to practice. Just essentially trying to find a bar anywhere, but please, just as you're doing this, practice safety first. If you don't have the tools necessary to do this at home right now, wait until, we can get back in the gyms and everything. But yeah, I just thought I would break some of this down for you guys. So to start off, I thought that I would just get into what exactly the different muscle groups are that you would need to be using for doing pull-ups. And as I am doing this, I am also going to be putting my makeup on. Completely forgot in like the first 2 seconds that I should also be doing my makeup at the same time. So I'm just putting on some eyeshadow primer. And so for the primary muscle groups that you're going to want to focus on, it is obviously upper body. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. But one of the things that you don't want to forget about is your core. You need to have solid core integrity on there as well, so making sure that your abs and your lower back are also strong would be good, because as you're doing pull-ups you do need to maintain that rigidity that comes with having a strong core, and so you just want to make sure that you're not completely forgetting about that as you start training. You're also going to be utilizing biceps, triceps, a little bit of the shoulder, but not very much. It's more so your back and your lats that come down on here. Also your delts, so your chest. Those are going to be the primary muscle groups, and so as we go through and do some of the different movements, you'll see which muscle groups those different movements are targeting, and so I'll make sure that I explain that. So in the first clip, we have just regular dumbbell bicep curls, and again, you can use cans of soup for this. Literally, whatever you want to use, you can use it. Your cat, I don't know, just throwing that out there. So as you can see, there's 3 different grip styles that I am using, and the first one is just your regular dumbbell curl. There's a slight rotation of the wrist as you pull up with the weight to your shoulder, and you want to make sure that as you're doing this movement you're keeping your elbows tucked in tight. You don't want to kind of have chicken wings as you're doing this, and so make sure elbows are in tight, strong posture, chest out, and then bringing the weight up to your shoulder. The second movement on there is just a hammer curl, so that essentially means that instead of rotating your wrist as you bring the dumbbell up, that all you're going to do is keep your wrist straight in a neutral grip on there, and so it's just coming up kind of like you're talking into a microphone instead of rotating it up like this. And then the third one is reverse curl, and so that's going to start to engage your forearms a little bit more, and that is where you're bringing it up like this instead of like this or like this. So it's reverse curl like this. And that one you might find some people tend to have a little bit of wrist strain as they're doing that movement, and so I would just be cautious. If you find that it's hurting your wrists too much, then I would just go ahead and pass on that that particular variant of the bicep curl. If you feel comfortable doing it, it's a great one to start to build up that forearm strength as well. So I am just going to be doing a fairly neutral eye on here. Nothing too crazy. Might throw in a little bit of some glitter on there, unsure as of right now. In addition to using a dumbbell to do a dumbbell curl, the next video shows that you can also use a band to do your bicep curls. And so all you would need to do is get a resistance band, and then you're going to place your feet inside of the resistance band to help hold it down. And then you can do one of two things. You can either do the first movement, which has your arms separated and you're just curling the band in that motion, or as the second movement shows, you can grab the rope together with both of your hands and then curl up that way, which would be similar to if you had a cable machine where you would be able to do a bicep curl with a rope grip that they have. This is just using the resistance band instead, but just make sure that if you were going to use the grip where you have both your hands together, that you rotate which hand is on top, so that way you're providing even tension to your hands as you're doing this. So maybe do one set first with the one grip and then switch hands for the next set and just keep alternating so that way you're getting even coverage across both muscles, both arms. And then after you are done working your biceps, the next step would be that we want to focus on the triceps, because as with all things, you want to make sure that you have balance in your muscles. So if you're going to work your biceps, you need to work your triceps, not necessarily in the same day, but you want to make sure that you're getting equal coverage on there. Same thing if you're working your chest, you need to work your back. If you're working your abs, you need to work your lower back. If you're working your quads on your legs, you need to work your hamstrings. Whole way down the body, you need to make sure that everything is nice and balanced on there, because if it's not, that is where a body then tends to overcompensate with that strength and it leads to risk of injury. And so it's just really important that you take the time to make sure that you are balancing as you go. So for the triceps, the next video that we have, I'm going to be kneeling. You can do it standing up as well. The only reason why I'm kneeling down is because of the camera. I would have had to figure out how to angle that on there, and for laziness purposes, I did not, so I just decided to kneel down so that you could see it clearly on there. And the motion is that you're going to bring the dumbbell behind your head carefully. Again, make sure that your elbows are tucked in nice and tight on there, that you don't have them flaring out, and you are going to raise until your arm is straight over your head and then bring the weight back down behind your head. And so you want to make sure that you are doing this in a nice controlled movement so that first you don't smack yourself in the back of the head with the weight, and you also want to make sure that it is controlled, because this does also put a little bit of added strain onto your elbows. And so anytime that we're dealing with movements that could place strain on your joints, you just want to make sure that you're nice and controlled on there to avoid injury. So after you're done with the kneeling version, there is a laying down version that you can do. So you'd want to have a bench. I used an ottoman from one of my chairs. You can also use a picnic bench. Anything really where you can lay down, where your arms can hang down past your head, where you don't have to worry about hitting the ground. So I would not advise doing this one if you're laying on the ground, just because that would restrict the full range of motion. So as you can see in the video, with this one, we're not going to be bending at the elbows at any point. It is just going to be a straight pulling of the arm forward until it is above your chest, and then bringing it back down to your head. So it's about a 90-degree angle that you're making on there. And the reason for this one is that it's going to be working your lateral muscles on here, so this portion that comes down across your ribs. And that is a crucial muscle to be strengthening if you want to have the ability to pull yourself up on the pull-up bar. And so definitely make sure that this is an exercise that you are including in there. This is such a neutral eye look that I don't even think it's really... Is it showing up on the camera? I don't know. Another good tricep exercise, you can use that same ottoman, same bench, whatever it is. You're going to place your knee onto that ottoman and then use the same hand. So if I'm putting my left knee on the bench, I'm going to put my left hand on the bench as well. And you are going to use your dumbbell and then pull it up. As you can see in there, it's a nice even pulling up motion. You're going to extend the arm back out until it's straight, and you're going to pull it back up to your chest. And again, don't let your elbow flare out. Keep it nice and tight into your chest, and make sure that it's a nice controlled movement. If you feel like the weight is too heavy to where you're starting to sag down with your shoulders, you don't want that. You want to make sure that the movement is nice and controlled, and that the weight isn't so much that it's causing you to have to alter the movement that you are doing on there. With anything that you are doing weightlifting wise, if you are starting to sacrifice your form because the weight weight is too heavy, it's not a good idea, because then at that point you're sacrificing the integrity of the movement and you're increasing the risk of injury. And so it's not going to work the same muscle groups anymore at that point, and you're going to potentially get hurt. So it's not worth it. So make sure that you are using weights that you can control, and as you find that you're getting stronger, you can increase that weight because you'll be able to control the heavier weights, but you shouldn't go beyond the ability to maintain control of that weight. I find that I'm definitely talking way more than applying makeup, so I should probably get on that. Smoking out the corners a little bit on here. I say on here a lot in my videos, I'm not gonna lie. I have to edit that shit out like all the time. I should probably work on that. Okay, I'm gonna clean that up once I put the concealer on. And BT Dubs, in case anyone is curious which palette I'm using. It's the Smoky Glow Midas Collab. So the next movement that you can do is working the chest portion. We're gonna stick to that ottoman, and we're going to do a dumbbell chest fly. So this would be similar to if you were at a gym and you had a cable machine. The same principle would apply to that, but instead we're at home. So we're gonna stick to what we can do at home. And so this is another really good one where you can use like a set of shoes that is heavier, like a heavy pair of boots from the winter time, or like a set of running sneakers, whatever it ends up being as you build yourself up on there. As the video shows, you just want to make sure that it's a nice controlled movement as you're bringing your arms together. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can bend at the elbow and do more of a squeeze on there, or you can have your arms extended out straight. I tend to do straight just because I find that does more for me, but you do want to be careful with that if you're doing a straight arm movement, because that does put potentially added stress on your shoulder. And so if you are someone that has issues with like a rotator cuff or anything like that, then I would be cautious doing straight arms versus just bending at the elbow, because you again don't want to increase the risk of injury, and so you just want to be very cautious with that. So I would suggest bending at the elbow if you're concerned for any kind of shoulder injury. Adding a little bit of glitter, and then this eye is almost done. And we can actually get to just regular makeup. So the next clip that we're going to look at shows essentially the reverse of a chest fly, because we're going to be doing a bent over reverse fly type movement, and you can see that essentially instead of pulling your arms together, you are going to be using your back to push the weight out. And so it's more of a squeeze out. And so at the top of the movement, you want to make sure that you are squeezing your shoulder blades together. Kind of the same thing as how you want to be squeezing your butt at the top of a deadlift. You want to squeeze your shoulder blades together at the top of this movement. And then you're going to slowly bring it back down. You can, with any of these movements, you can alter the speed on there, which will do different things. And so if you are changing the speed as you're coming back down on that movement, that would be what's known as a negative, which we'll get into a lot more with the pull-ups portion on there. But negatives are really great because they increase that time under tension. So you're putting more strain onto the muscle, but it's going to increase the endurance of those muscles. So you'll be able to utilize them for longer. And so it's really, really great to throw negatives in addition just to doing the regular movements. Negatives can really help out a lot for increasing strength. I'm going to smoke out the under eye just a little bit. So now that we've gone through a bunch of different weightlifting movements that you can do to start to build muscular strength, we need to actually start looking at movements that you can do on the bar. And so the first thing to address on there is that in order to do multiple reps on a pull-up bar, you need to make sure that you are increasing your grip strength. And I think that's something that sometimes gets forgotten on when people are training for this kind of thing. And so you need to make sure that you have appropriate grip strength, because if you don't have the grip strength, how can you expect to be able to hold on to the bar long enough to do multiple reps? And so the first video that we have is just a dead hang. It's essentially just what it sounds like. You are going to grip onto the bar and you are going to hang with your body weight, and that's it. And you're just going to hang there, and you'll find that your grip will start to lose strength as you're hanging. And this is a really good one for just doing a timed type set on there, where you do maybe trying to hold on for 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it ends up being. Once you get to where you can hold on to the bar for about a minute, I think that you're doing well enough to where you can move on to the next step, which would be a flexed arm hang. So for a flexed arm hang, as we see in the next video, you are going to step up to the bar so that way you don't have to worry about trying to do a pull-up to get up to the top of the bar. And once you have stepped up, your chin should already be above the bar, and you are going to hang while holding that position. And so it's different from the dead hang because obviously you're having to hold yourself up in addition to maintaining that grip, and so it starts to work the same muscles that you would need in order to pull yourself up, but in a hang type setting. And once you start to get more confident with that, then we can start looking at the next aspect, which brings in those negatives that I was talking about before. So for the next movement, it's essentially the same thing as with the flexed arm hang, that you're going to use some kind of step to get yourself up to the bar. And once you are up on the bar, you are going to slowly lower yourself back down. And typically for negatives, you want to try and maintain about a 4 count. And so as you're lowering yourself down, you can start off a little quicker when you haven't built up enough strength yet to do a 4 count. And so if it's just a 2 count, as you lower yourself down, that's fine as well. But ideally you would like to get to where you are up to 4 seconds on each time, and you'll just keep stepping up to the bar, and you'll do a set of however many you feel comfortable with, and you'll just keep lowering yourself down. So that is what a negative looks like. Just trying to do my eyebrows. I don't know why I would care if they're done well or not, because even when I'm focusing on them, they're not great. The next video that we are going to see is where I'm utilizing those same bands that we were using for the banded bicep curl, and you're going to attach it to the bar. And you want it to be in the middle of the bar so that way when you're hanging, the band is in between you, like hanging down the middle. And this is again one of those nice things where, since the bands have different weights on there, it's essentially the same thing as, I don't know if you guys have seen that machine inside gyms where you can change the weight on it, and then you put your knees onto that pad and it just kind of lowers your knees down, but it takes a lot of your weight off so that you can start trying to do pull-ups without having to maintain all of your body weight. And using the bands is essentially the same principle on there. And so you'll want to have where you start off with some of the thicker bands, because those will remove more of your body weight, and then as you gain more confidence and strength, then you can start to use some of the thinner bands, which will decrease the amount of weight that it's helping out with. In case anyone was curious, this was the Maybelline brow that I threw on here. I think it was in, yep, it was in blonde. If I use anything darker than blonde on my eyebrows, I look ridiculous, even though my hair's not blonde, which I am well aware of. I am going to prime my face real fast, and I am using the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer. It's more of a mattifying, pore-filling primer, which I really like, and so I use that around my cheeks and nose, a little bit around my mouth. Primer, I'm also going to use the Hourglass primer. This is their Veil Mineral Primer, and it's not quite as mattifying as the Urban Decay one, and so it does a nice job of filling the pores without completely drying out my skin. And then for my foundation today, I am going to be using the Shiseido Synchro Skin Glow. Looks like this. And this is definitely not a super full coverage. It does have sunscreen, and I just find that I really like how it feels. It's super lightweight. I would say that this is more of like a dewy type foundation. I'm going to be using my Juno & Co. Super Fuzzy Sponge to put this on my face. Pounce that on. I don't know why, but whenever I hear someone saying the word pounce in a beauty video, I just automatically start singing like the most random song in my head. I'm like, pounce, pounce. I don't know, I'm a 5-year-old. I'm so sorry. I find that kind of thing amusing. You can see it's got a nice little dewy finish on there. It's kind of nice. I think it's pretty. And it really is super duper lightweight. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more similar to like a tinted moisturizer, this would be it, with just a little bit more coverage, but not much. It's definitely light coverage. So the next movement that we're going to discuss is going to be doing half reps, and the reason why half reps are beneficial is because it increases, again, the time under tension without having you need to be able to do the entire movement. And so if you're not quite there yet with being able to do the entire movement, you can just do these half reps on there instead. And if you find that you're not able to do a half rep yet, do a quarter rep. The whole point of this is not necessarily to have the entire range of motion. It's meant to be more so just increasing that time under tension, where you have to get used to holding your body on the bar for a certain amount of time. So again, it's working that grip strength as well as working the muscle groups that are required for a pull-up. For concealer, I'm going to be using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. Just got that the other day because there are not a lot of things that I could get on my base, and I decided to do myself a kindness and get a little bit of makeup to make me feel a little better. Cover up some acne because my face has not been happy with me lately. I'm unsure as to whether that's from stress or just because my diet has been straight trash since we started the social distancing stuff. And so I have never been someone that is great at eating healthy. And to then make me have to go through this kind of grocery store shenanigans type stuff, I just lose all motivation to try and get healthy food at any point. And so I've just been eating a lot of frozen foods, which super healthy for me. So that's probably a bigger reason why my face has just been not happy with me. Gonna blot out the last little bit. Another thing that you can do as you're trying to work up to your pull-ups, if you are not able to do them yet, once we've gotten to this point, I'm just going to be demonstrating in the video with actual pull-ups, but if you want to use the step-up motion for this, that's also fine. And so essentially what we are doing in that video is we are changing the grips, the types of grip that we are using as we're doing a pull-up. And so you can start with a normal neutral grip, which is just gripping the pull-up bar like normal shoulder width grip, maybe slightly beyond shoulder width. The next grip that you can, the next grip that you can use would be a chin-up grip, which is, I believe, the first one on here. Yep. And that is where you're just almost doing a bicep curl, but on the bar. And so that is probably, of the different types of grips, the chin-up grip is the easier one because you're working a bigger muscle group with including your biceps on there more. And so people tend to find chin-ups are an easier first step before getting into a more difficult movement of just doing a regular pull-up or even a wide arm pull-up. The next movement on there is a neutral grip, and so that's where you're just having your hands similar to the hammer grip that we did for the hammer curls, which is just having like you're speaking into a microphone. It's the same concept for the pull-ups. And again, this would be one of those types of things where you would need to have one of those rigs where you can change the grip. If you don't have that, then you would just be sticking with either the chin-up grip or a regular pull-up grip, and this neutral grip one would just kind of be something that you wouldn't really bother worrying about. And then the final one is the wide arm pull-up, which is the one that seems to give the most people a lot of difficulty on there, just because it does require so much more strength to be able to do. And I mean, you can see I flaked out after 2 reps on there. So it is a tough one. So that would definitely be one where I would recommend starting off with stepping up on the bar and then just doing negatives so you can get used to what that feels like to have that wider grip, because it does place a lot more strain on your shoulders, all of your joints. It's definitely a more difficult movement, and so I would say have that be kind of the last thing that you're working toward. But changing the grip is a really good way to gain more confidence, because again, since the chin up is a more slightly easier movement, you could probably build your body up to being able to handle that one before a regular pull-up, and so that can help you to gain confidence on the bar. As you're going through and doing the training for this, if you think of any other exercises that might work, by all means make sure to start employing those as well. And just also keep in mind that with all of these things, you don't need to do all of them every day. It's good to kind of pick one particular muscle group, work on that one on one day, and then move on to the next one the next day, so that way you're not overtaxing your entire body, especially starting out. I think that's one of the things that can mess people up, is they have a tendency to want to jump right in because they're super motivated and they really want to get started, and they end up finding that they get hurt pretty quick because they either try and start off with too heavy of weight right off the bat, or that they get demotivated because they try and start off really quick and heavy, and when they can't do it, then it kind of messes up their motivation to want to continue. And so with all of this stuff, remember that the lighter the weight is that you start off with, the faster you'll be able to jump up to heavier weights. And so I would say with all of these, kind of test out first to find, okay, what is a weight that I feel comfortable doing where I feel like I am tired from doing it, but it's not something where I feel like I am hurting myself. And that would then end up being kind of your baseline weight, which would be the weight you would do for your sets where you're trying to incorporate higher rep schemes. So like doing between 10 and 15 reps. And that is also something to keep in mind with all of these things, is that changing the rep scheme and the weight is also important. You don't want to just start off and do like 5 sets of 10 and have that be the only type of rep scheme that you do, because then you'll find that your body will plateau pretty quickly and you're not gonna feel like you're making as much progress. And so you want to change it up to where you're doing things like maybe decreasing the weight a little bit some days, days, but then going for max reps. So upwards of 20 repetitions on there instead of, you know, in the more middle ground of 10. Or you'll want to have days where you are focusing more on strength over muscular endurance, in which case you would want to increase the weight but decrease the reps down to 3 to 5 reps instead. By alternating on all of those things, you'll find that your body will not be as quick to become more efficient. And in the case of exercising, when the body becomes more efficient, it's a fancy way of saying that it gets lazy, because now that it knows how to do the things more efficiently, it's not going to utilize as much of your muscle to do that same movement. And so you kind of have to always keep your body guessing as you're doing weightlifting, so that that way it doesn't have a chance to hit that plateau and reach, you know, maximum efficiency to where your body just gets lazy again, because then you're not going to progress beyond whatever that particular level is that you're at. That was the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush. In case anyone was curious. I'm doing a great job of telling you guys what products I'm using on my face. I think I've like said 3 products out of all of them that I've done. So I'm a great beauty guru. For the highlight, I'm going to be using the Becca Prismatic Amethyst highlighter. Looks like this. It's a container. And for highlighter, I like to use my finger, just because then that way I can really place it and give it some pizzazz. I always do like a half moon around the side of my face, so that that way when the light hits it, look at that shine, and then when you're looking straight on, you almost wouldn't even know. But I think you can also really see the nice dewy finish of the Shiseido foundation, and so I really like that and how it turns out on there, because it's a nice natural look, I feel, where your skin looks healthy and refreshed, even though mine is not healthy or refreshed right now. But it makes it look like it is. But the final touches are going to be mascara and setting spray and then some quick gloss, and then we are done. But I hope that giving some of these exercise options to you guys, that will help. If anyone has any questions, or if you guys want more exercises to be doing, please just toss it in the comments, and I would be more than happy to do, you know, a follow-up video or just message you guys directly with some additional things that you can be working on. 'Cause really we're all out here on the struggle bus together, and so if I can help someone with a little bit of the things that I'm good at, then, you know, why not? I would tell you what mascara this is, but I honestly don't know. I think I got it in like a boxy charm, and it just says Grande Drama. That's what it looks like. I don't know if Grande Drama is the company, but it does a nice job. It certainly makes my eyelashes nice and thick. It does have a tendency to get everywhere. If you are not a fan of mascara getting all over your face and flaking off, then this might not be the one for you. Just throwing that out there. Setting spray is the Tarte Stay Spray. I'm gonna splash my face real quick. This one does have a very nice kind of perfumey smell to it, but not overbearing in any way. And I do like that the mister is not crazy, because I don't like feeling like I'm splashing water all over my face after I've just taken the time to put it on. And then for lips, I am going to be using the Buxom Full-On Plumping Lip Cream. This is the shade Hot Toddy. I love Buxom. They're definitely one of my favorite lip companies out there. I think that their colors that they have are very complementary to my skin tone and my lip shade, and so it's a really nice natural kind of looking gloss, but still very pretty. That was the final step, but I hope that you guys liked this video, that it was informative and maybe helped some of you to start working towards a goal of, you know, being able to do some pull-ups. If you guys like this, I'd be more than happy to do more of these for other types of exercises. Another one for the future that I already know is going to be on the books that people were asking about would be handstand push-ups, and so that'll probably be in the next couple weeks that I'll throw that one in. But if you guys have any other types of exercises that you've always wanted to be able to do but you find that you're struggling with, please let me know. I would love to help you out. But feel free to drop some comments if you guys do have anything you want me to talk about. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, even subscribe. I would really love that and super appreciate it. I really just want to build my community out here, get to know more of you guys, and just share my makeup journey with you. Yeah, hope you guys have a great day.